So on the last weekend in May, this coming May, over the Saka Dawa Duchin or Vesak weekend, it's the most holy day in the Buddhist calendar. It's when we commemorate the Buddha's birth, awakening, and parinirvana, or passing of this body in this life, all at the same time. It's all on the same festival day. So it's, it's a big deal every year in celebrating this about the Buddha. So this year, we have this most exciting opportunity to do something that has never been done before on this planet, over Saka Dawa Duchin. And who knows if these conditions will actually ever come again. So here at Sravasti Abbey, we will have the first ever recitation of the Perfection of Wisdom in 8,000 lines, or the 8,000 line Prajnaparamita Sutra, which is one of the most important sutras that our entire tradition is based on. We're reciting it in English for the first time. So I'm not a scholar, so I can't give you the whole history of these, but there is a website and an organization called 84,000. Their whole mission is to translate the complete Tibetan canon into English. And they are doing a beautiful job. They're really working, they're doing it well. It's very scholarly in its approach and so forth. It's a huge project. And then just in the last few weeks, they published this 8,000 line Prajnaparamita Sutra on their website. So Venerable Kunchuk Norbu is one of the copy editors for 84,000. He's a monk who lives in Colorado. He's visited here several times. And I don't know if it was a year, I think it may have been 2 years ago that he was visiting, and the Buddha Hall was under construction, as it was for a long time. We were building this Buddha Hall. And at the same time, he was working on the copy editing of the English of this Prajnaparamita Sutra in 8,000 lines. And so he's the one who had the idea of, wouldn't it be wonderful to do this launch, this first public resounding of this sutra in English as a blessing for the Buddha Hall when it's finished. So we've been playing tag back and forth a little bit about, well, where you are with your translation, where we are with the Buddha Hall. The Buddha Hall got delayed. Well, the translation probably did too a little bit. And so here it is now. It's coming together. And this is directly within the Abbey's mission, because we have 2 points of our mission. One is to support a flourishing monastic community. And the second point of that is to root the Dharma, the Buddhist Dharma, in Western soil so that it lasts here forever, that it really takes root and goes forward. And so what is the big deal about this text? Like, why does that present it? These Prajnaparamita teachings are the very root of the Mahayana path of Buddhism, which is the school that we follow and practice. It's said that Shakyamuni Buddha taught these at Vulture's Peak during the time that he was on this planet. And then he gave the charge to 2 of his disciples, Venerable Ananda and Vajrapani, who both had exceptional photographic memories. Ananda, we know for sure, is the source of many, many, many of the sutras that we have in the Pali tradition. So he also was mandated to memorize these and to preserve them for the future. And it is also said that these were transmitted orally for a long time. They don't know when they might have been written down over that course of history. But also, it was a time perhaps when the world wasn't really ready for these teachings yet. And so it's said that they were taken to safe places. And to some of the safe places were in different realms. They weren't all in the human realm, but they were preserved for hundreds and hundreds of years. And then around the 1st century and the Common Era, and the 1st century before the Common Era, right at the turn of that millennium, Master Nagarjuna, who was one of the teachers that we revere all the way back to that period of time as the commentator on these sutras, is said to have brought the first one back. Now, he wrote a text called The Fundamental Wisdom of the Middle Way, which explains the Buddha's most subtle view on how to understand the nature of reality. And it is said that that text, The Fundamental Wisdom, is a commentary on this 8,000 line Prajnaparamita Sutra. So now we have not just this text from Nagarjuna that has been extant for a long time now and studied and studied and studied and meditated on and created Buddhas, as far as I'm concerned, probably. But we now have the source text of that in English, complete for the first time. Edwin Kanzi, who was another scholar, in 1958 or 59 actually published a version of this, but it wasn't complete. So this is the first time that a complete version of the text has been translated into English. So then another couple of hundred years after Nagarjuna, there was another master named Asanga who was having trouble understanding the complexities of these teachings, the Prajnaparamita teachings. This 8,000 line one is just one of, I think, 23 volumes of Prajnaparamita teachings are in the Tibetan canon. And there are some that are very significant. There are the 3 mothers that the Tibetans rely on. There are 6 mothers, but this one's the first. And so Asanga made great prayers to another great being, Maitreya, the Buddha who will come in the future, predicted to come in the future, asking for help in understanding these. And after beautiful long stories about how he achieved this, we won't go into that now, but he got the support that he needed. And one of the texts that came from that was called The Ornament for Clear Realization, which is also a commentary on the Prajnaparamita in general. And so we acknowledge these two. So when we envision the merit field, we talk about where we come from when we take refuge. We visualize the Buddha in the center, and on the Buddha's right is Maitreya. On the Buddha's left is Manjushri, who's the Buddha of wisdom. And from these, we visualize the lineage of teachers. So from Manjushri became Master Nagarjuna and his disciples that brought this wisdom side of the path to us. And on the right, we have Maitreya, Master Asanga, and his disciples who brought the method side of the path to us. That's the way it's described, the vast and the profound. So these lineages come together. They are absolutely essential to have both of them in order to follow the path to Buddhahood. And in following that path, then this practice of method and wisdom combined is actually what is taught implicitly and explicitly in the Prajnaparamita Sutras. So that's a little bit maybe too much of the background, but they're important because they are the source. They're the source material. And now, for the first time in the history of the world, we have them fully in English. So what is happening on this Saka Dawa Duchen 2026 at Sravasti Abbey is what's called a resounding. And in the Tibetan tradition, what they do is they will often read these texts aloud. Because once we've read them, spoken them, heard them, the imprint of that teaching stays in our mind, whether we even understand it or not. But the imprint is there so that we are creating the possibility of meeting it again, studying in the future, understanding it better every time we hear it. So it's like this pattern that's happening on our mind stream. So in the Tibetan tradition, they will do a text or they will do some certain part of the canon, and everyone, generally speaking, everyone will get a different page, and they'll recite them all out loud together over a period of time. What we're going to do with the Prajnaparamita Sutra in 8,000 lines is we are going to recite this in unison. So we're inviting monastics for sure, and we're inviting lay people as well to come to this gathering, Here we are in North America, out in the country, in the woods, learning the Dharma as best we can. We're learning, and we're learning. And one thing I have experienced, the more I study the Vinaya, which is the Buddhist guidance for the monastics, the more that is translated and we understand what the guidelines are and how communities live together, the more I understand how to embody what the Buddha actually gave us. Because in English, we haven't had, I mean, what we've had in the last, 20 years or so is astonishing, the amount of translation that has happened. But still, to have the, we get it in bits and pieces, over the course of time. It's like, oh, he meant that. Oh, it's like that. Oh, practicing the Dharma as a monastic means that. I see. So we have this deeper and deeper capacity to embody it. So my thought is that in the same way as we are able to recite this root Prajnaparamita Sutra in 8,000 lines, that level of embodiment and being able to maintain these imprints in our minds will have a profound effect. So we'll be reciting in 3 2-hour sessions each day for 4 days. Everyone will be reciting, as I said, at the same time. When people come, they don't have to come to every session because it's a lot of recitation. But I'll tell you, I personally am going to recite every single syllable of this sutra because I want that imprint. It's like, if I can get that in my mind, then somehow I am creating the causes for the future to be able to really understand and do this again. So there's something very interesting, I thought, that among the notes that 84,000 has published. It is said that this sutra is written for 2 different kinds of students, that actually all the Prajnaparamita Sutras are. Now, we hear in the teachings, we hear about this, about a sharp faculty disciple and a modest faculty disciple, or sometimes it's translated as a dull faculty disciple. The sharp faculty disciples are the disciples who come to really fully enter the bodhisattva path through the path of reasoning. They need to understand for absolute certain that what the Buddha had taught is doable and real. And so they do that through reasoning. The students of dull faculty or the faculty of faith take it on faith that this can be done. And it is through their kind of heartfelt desire, through their realization of bodhicitta, actually, through faith, that they can enter the path of accumulation, both of them. So here's how it's said in the sutra. It said this is done for they call it the intellectual type and the type of faith. That's their language for this. The faithful types are those who have enough faith in the Mahayana teachings that they can enter the path of preliminary practice through faith alone. So people can enter the path of accumulation by developing bodhicitta on the basis of their faith. Then there's the intellectual type who have faith in the Mahayana teachings but require explanations that seem true to them analytically before they enter the path of preliminary practice or the path of accumulation. So for the faithful type, it is just revering or reciting the scripture, even without any understanding of the esoteric meaning, that is said to have immediately worldly benefits to set them quickly on the path to awakening. So considering myself a student of the dull type, a student on faith, this is kind of exciting to be able to just recite the scripture without any understanding of the esoteric meaning and see it put me further on the path to complete awakening. So this is great sales material, right? So just revering or reciting the sutra has had this immediate effect. And the intellectual types will also get the imprint, and it will help feed their understanding of the analysis and what is the true nature of things. So either way, these Prajnaparamita scriptures are aimed at both types, since hearing or reading them is also, according to the scriptures, is a necessary condition for awakening. Doing this on our own won't get us very far. It also, the scripture is very clear. You need to rely on a teacher that can explain this to you. But to have the imprint is so important. Why in the world will we not take this opportunity to establish a necessary condition for our own full awakening? It's right here. It's being offered right here. So this resounding is going to be streamed live all the way through, every bit of the text. There will be a scrolling page so people can read along wherever they are. We will broadcast it live on Sravasti Abbey's YouTube page and also on 84,000's platform. We'll be doing it in the Buddha Hall, literally in the presence of the new Buddhas that are seated there, right there. And yeah, we're inviting everyone who can make it either personally, which will be best, or to join us online. Now, I want to make a case for personally, because you know as an audiologist, that when a group of people are reciting out loud, it's not just the sound. I mean, there's the whole reverberation, there's the whole energy of the presence of it. That is an imprint I want on this body and mind as I continue this practice for the rest of my life. Here's a quote from the text, and it's used as the basis of our naming this is called In the Presence of the Tathagata, this event. Right? The quote says, this is from the sutra directly, "As long as this perfection of wisdom is circulating among beings in the world, Ananda, one should understand the Tathagata, the Buddha, to be remaining. One should understand the Tathagata to be teaching the Dharma. And one should understand those sentient beings to never be separate from seeing the Buddha, from hearing the Dharma, or from being near the Sangha. Also, Ananda, one should understand those sentient beings to be living in the presence of the Tathagata." And that's the name. That's why we named this, In the Presence of the Tathagata. So we talk about in our morning motivations, every morning we often recall how the Buddha is here in our presence and we just need to turn our mind there, that we're the ones not paying attention. All the Buddhas, many Buddhas are paying attention to us. But somehow to take this really strongly as an experience of being able to recite this sutra in the presence of the Buddha is just so inspiring. And so I want people to know, for the Sravasti Abbey to be the host for this first recitation in the history of the world, I think has a profound effect on our Buddha Hall, on our monastery, on our aspiration that this monastery will be serving sentient beings for thousands of years. Who knows? And simply the effect, we're in a troubled world. The world is always troubled, but it looks really more troubled than I've seen in my lifetime. Maybe that's an understatement even. So the light that can radiate from our community and from our communal lay people and all the monastics that are invited to come, how can we even imagine what kind of virtuous effect this can bring? So anyway, there's information on the website. Commuters are welcome. We also have places for people to stay, of course, that's what we do. We all will recite this sutra together. Now we all have the seeds of Buddhahood within us. And so we already have the innate capacity. So how incredible that we have this opportunity to nurture these seeds together and do this event. So we hope everyone will join us.